Hi everyone, and welcome to today's professional development session on conducting individual assessments. I'm really pleased you could join us, and over the next 30 minutes we're going to focus on the very first stage of assessment, the preparation phase. This is the stage that sets up everything that follows. So when we prepare well, assessments run smoothly, customers feel supported, and we collect accurate, meaningful information. Now, let's think about the people you support in our supported independent living houses. Each person has their own unique combination of strengths, needs, communication styles, and preferences. Some people use spoken language, others use communication devices or gestures. Some need extra time to process information or may become anxious in new environments. Our role as assessors and support workers is to make sure every assessment is person-centred, respectful, and empowering. That means we adapt how we prepare, where we conduct the assessment, and what supports we use so the individual can truly participate and show us what they can do. By the end of today's session, you should feel confident that you can set up an assessment in a way that is safe, supportive, and compliant with both organisational and legislative requirements. So, let's start by unpacking what we mean by preparing for an individual assessment. An individual assessment helps us to understand the person's current skills, goals, and support needs. It informs their support plan and helps us track progress over time. Preparation means doing some homework before we sit down with the customer. This might look like reviewing the support plan and risk assessments, reading through the communication profile. For example, does the person use Auslan, a device, or visual prompts to communicate? Check for any medical alerts or behaviour support plans that may affect the assessment. We need to ensure that we have the right environment: quiet, private, culturally safe, and free from distractions. For example, it may be a good idea to conduct an assessment in the customer's own home if in the customer's own home if they suffer from anxiety when they're in new places. So also we need to plan for breaks, support persons or interpreters if needed. We also need to think about consent. Is the person you're conducting the assessment on able to provide an informed consent themselves, or is a guardian or substitute decision maker involved? So before we go any further, let's make it interactive. So before we start, what preparation steps do you usually take before supporting a new customer activity or assessment? Take a moment to think about it. You might want to jot down 2 or 3 things. So would anyone like to share their responses with me? Yes, great point. Checking the environment. Exactly, confirming consent. That's crucial. Good job. This helps everyone start thinking about how these preparation steps apply in practice. Now, let's walk through the preparation process step by step. I'll display a sample assessment preparation checklist on screen, and we'll talk through each section together. So, reviewing documentation. Start with the paperwork. This gives you the context you need. Read through the person support plan, behaviour support plan, and any medical alerts. These documents tell you what strategies are already in place, what's working well, and what potential triggers or risks you need to be aware of. For example, if the person has epilepsy or diabetes, you need to know how to manage those conditions safely during the assessment. So you'll need to read their epilepsy support plan or their diabetes support plan. If the behaviour plan notes that the person becomes anxious in new situations, plan to do the assessment in a familiar space or with a known staff member present. Clarify the purpose. So be clear about why you are doing the assessment. Is it part of a new support plan? Is it a skills review or a behaviour update? Understanding the purpose helps you choose the right tools and focus your questions in the right way. For example, a skills assessment might focus on daily living activities. Can the person prepare a simple meal or manage personal hygiene without assistance? Ask them to show you how they get on and off the toilet, for example. A behaviour review, on the other hand, might focus on triggers or calming strategies and responses. So now let's gather the right tools for the assessment. Make sure you have everything you need before you begin. Your assessment checklist or template, a consent form, any communication aids that are required, for example, pictures, symbols, or devices, recording sheets or tablet for notes, and a risk management or work health and safety checklist. Having the tools ready means you can focus on the conversation rather than scrambling for materials halfway through. Then on to our confirmed consent. Always ensure that an informed consent is obtained and recorded. Explain to the person what the assessment involves, why it is happening, and how their information will be used. Check for understanding. You might say, "Can you tell me in your own words what we're going to do today and how it is relevant to you?" If a guardian or representative signs on the person's behalf, document that clearly. Remember, consent isn't a one-off formality, it's an ongoing process throughout the assessment. Next, we need to set up the environment. Choose an environment that promotes comfort and privacy. Avoid noisy communal spaces or rooms with constant interruptions. Think about things like temperature, lighting, and accessibility. Can the person's wheelchair fit comfortably? If the person needs visual supports, make sure these are within easy reach. And if cultural considerations apply, for instance, gender preferences or use of language interpreters, plan accordingly. the work health and safety check. So finally, we need to conduct a quick work health and safety check of the area, remove any trip hazards, ensure emergency exits are clear, and check that first aid resources are nearby. Know what to do in case of a medical emergency, who to contact, where the incident report form is, and how to escalate concerns. Safety underpins everything we do in an assessment. So recently there was a training session being conducted by an external provider. During the training, one of the students complained of chest pain. So not only did the trainer ring for the wrong person, they also did not know how to locate the paddles in the defib machine. So totally unprepared. So please make sure that you are prepared for your assessments. So these 6 steps: review, clarify, gather, confirm, set up, and check, form the backbone of good preparation. When done thoroughly, they create a foundation for a smooth and person-centred assessment. So, let's test this out with a short scenario. You're preparing to assess Sam, a new resident. Sam uses an electronic communication device to express his needs and preferences. Think for a moment, what additional preparation might you need for Sam? Maybe you'd check that the device is charged, that the correct vocabulary set is loaded, or that you know how to operate it. Maybe watch a quick YouTube video on how to use the communication device so you're au fait with it. You might need to allow extra time for responses or have a support worker present who knows Sam's communication style. I'll give you a minute to think of 2 or 3 preparation steps you'd take in the case of Sam. Cool. Anyone like to share their responses with us? Great. Yes, ensure the device is working. Always a good start. Exactly. Confirming consent through the communication device. Very good. And good point. Allowing extra time for responses shows respect for Sam's pace. These small but intentional steps make a big difference to how successful and empowering the assessment will be. So let's wrap up with a quick summary. The key points from today. Preparation is about safety, respect, and readiness. Always start by reviewing the documentation. Know your customer. Clarify why you are assessing and what outcomes you hope to achieve. Gather the right tools and always check the environment. Confirm consent. It is essential. Keep work health and safety in the front of your mind. We are responsible for safe practice. When we prepare thoroughly, we show professionalism and care, and we help our customers succeed. Before we finish, Take 5 minutes after this session to reflect on this question. What one thing could you do better when preparing for an assessment? It might be as simple as taking more time to review the communication plan or checking the environment more carefully. Jot it down somewhere. That small action could make a big improvement next time. So thank you for joining me today and for your participation. In our next session, we're going to move on to conducting the assessment conversation. How to ask questions, observe, and record evidence in a person-centered way. Thanks, guys. See you next week.